Jen and I have broken the story that the state of Michigan environmental agency, the Department of Environmental Quality, cheated on the water testing in Flint for 2.5 years. We knocked on 450 doors and we spoke to 150 residents. If I'm keeping it real, I have sent our report to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's office. They haven't said anything about it publicly. I don't know why. We have sent this report to new Congresswoman-elect Rashida Tlaib, who represents Detroit. They haven't said anything about it publicly. I don't know why. We have sent this to Congressman Dan Kildee, who represents Flint in the United States Congress. He has not said anything publicly. I have no idea why. If you haven't read it, here is the story. We worked hard to get this story out. We knocked on 450 doors, like I just said. We found dozens of homes were tested illegally because the state of Michigan illegally ran residents' water lines right before taking the samples. The EPA mandates that the water not be used for at least 6 hours, and then the sample be taken right away after the tap is turned on. In this article at Mediaite.com, it shows you all of the people who have spoken out on our story. Celebrity and activist Alyssa Milano. She tweeted, "I'm calling for an investigation into the real lead levels in Flint, Michigan. And they must reopen the state-funded bottled water program for residents until it's proven without flushing that the water is safe." And she linked to my tweet with the story. That's celebrity Alyssa Milano. You also have Susan Sarandon. Shady testing practices in Flint showing safe lead levels in Flint. Check out Jordan Chariton's article. Then you have Congressman Ro Khanna. After Michigan poisoned Flint 4.5 years ago, Governor Snyder's officials broke EPA regulations to lower lead levels. Free water needs to be restored and an investigation opened. Thanks, Jordan Chariton, for your reporting. Should thank Jen as well. He followed up, "It's a no-brainer to have an investigation," at Jordan Chariton. Tulsi Gabbard, rumored to be a presidential candidate. "The people of Flint are still being cheated and poisoned. I visited Flint and heard from people who still can't bathe in their own homes due to multiple toxins in water and who rely on charity for bottled water. There must be an investigation, accountability, and clean water." Tweeted, linked to our story. Attorney Lee Merritt, who represents Botham John's family, who represents other black men, mostly unarmed, murdered by police, tweeted, "In case you're wondering, no, they haven't cleaned the water in Flint, Michigan yet. They just found a better way of covering it up." Linked to our story. Erin Brockovich is on the record in our story. She's on the record in our story saying, "This is criminal. This is criminal. It is against the law. It's against the law to manipulate a lead and copper sample. It's against the law to illegally run a resident's water right before collecting a lead and copper sample." Somehow, and I'm keeping it real. I'm not trying to attack anyone, but I'm keeping it real with you. I have sent this multiple times to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Director of Communications. I have sent this multiple times to Congresswoman-elect Rashida Tlaib from Detroit, who has tweeted a hell of a lot on Flint. I have sent this to Michael Moore more times than I could count. I have sent this to Congressman Dan Kildee, who represents Flint. I have sent this to Congressman Elijah Cummings and gotten a response from his press secretary, yet they haven't said anything publicly. There is nobody, including the state of Michigan, who has even questioned our data, has even questioned our reporting, because our reporting was exhaustive. We covered every X and every O. We have every single resident we spoke to on the record via audio tape. So our quotes and conversations can all be confirmed. I have sent it to Bernie too. And again, I'm not attacking Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, Bernie, anyone. Sometimes, unfortunately, you don't have a direct pipeline to politicians, and you have to go through their advisors. And sometimes their advisors, for whatever reason, don't bring really, 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 really important things to their attention. If I had to guess right now, my guess is Ocasio-Cortez's advisor, who I happen to like, I'm not going to name his name right now, but probably hasn't brought it to her attention. I can't imagine what they're not getting about the urgency here. There are people like Jasmine, who I just showed you, with her 1-year-old infant on her lap, who has blisters and rashes all over her arms. This is a 1-year-old baby. She didn't have those blisters and rashes before moving into that house. They moved into that house 2 months before I interviewed them. She put her in the bath. She said for a half hour they took baths. She's got white blisters and rashes all over her legs, arms, and ears. So 1-year-old baby. By the way, they moved into that home on Wolcott Street in Flint in May of this year. In April, a month before, Governor Rick Snyder came out publicly and declared Flint's water restored. Declared Flint's water restored and shut down the water pods. And she is the rule, not the exception. There's 20% of Flint residents that don't even have a car and don't have the money to go buy bottled water. They need bottled water donations. They need those free water pods. In a lot of cases, they need it delivered if they don't have transportation. Her child is bathing in and drinking contaminated water because the governor of Michigan and his extremist Republican allies have lied to them and cooked up the data. This is murder. The state of Michigan's response to our reporting, and again, I say our reporting, Jen and me, the residents are confused. Can you say blaming the victim? The residents are confused. Nothing to say about what the residents told us. Nothing to say. They have no way of knocking down our report because it's true. They wouldn't even answer yes or no to the addresses I gave them if they sent officials into those homes, which they did, and I had the paperwork to prove that they did. Because the EPA is on the record in our story telling us the state of Michigan was not supposed to be sending officials into residents' homes. I just put the link into our live chat again of the story. If you haven't read the story, I hope you do. Share it. So the state of Michigan, they can't deny the story. They not only illegally flushed the water, they also illegally went into people's homes in the first place. The state was just supposed to drop off the test kits for residents with written instructions how to test, and the residents were supposed to do the testing, leave the sample bottles outside for the state to pick it up. That's how it was supposed to work. We found that the state both went into certain residents' homes and did the testing for them and ran their water first, totally illegally. And in the cases that the state didn't go in their homes and do it themselves, they verbally instructed the residents, let your water run before testing, knowing that's the wrong way of testing. How did they know it was the wrong way of testing? Because in the state of Michigan's own instruction video on YouTube, it says, do not flush your water before taking samples. In their response to us, the residents are confused. Yeah, poor black people are confused. Yeah, poor white people are confused. They're just stupid, right? Ocasio-Cortez, benefit of the doubt, her advisors might have not brought it to her. They might have not brought it to her attention, which I don't understand that. Elijah Cummings, I don't know if his press secretary has brought it to his attention. Dan Kildee, I know for a fact, knows about it. I can't get into why I know that for a fact because our conversations were off the record, but he knows about it. And he's publicly saying nothing. And this is the congressman that represents Flint. He's very quick to go to those church events at black churches and stand up and fight for the people of Flint. Not so quick to publicly say this testing was done illegally. They cooked the data and there needs to be criminal prosecution and total retesting done throughout Flint and the water pods reopened as a result. It's not like nobody else has said this. You have two sitting U.S. congressmen who have said this, Tulsi Gabbard and Ro Khanna. I want to, it's truly unbelievable to me. I mean, obviously, as a journalist, you might feel that your story is the most important thing since sliced bread and other people don't, and other media sources don't. But we're talking about an investigation that found a state environmental agency cooked up the data in the biggest environmental scandal of the 21st century. We're talking about Flint, Michigan, the biggest environmental scandal and the biggest case of environmental racism in the 21st century. And there are sitting United States congressmen and senators who know about our findings and are saying nothing publicly. That's either corrupt, there's something wrong there. It makes no sense why they would say nothing. Elijah Cummings, who's trying to get Rick Snyder to send documents, it makes no sense to me why he's not publicly commenting on our investigative findings. No sense at all. Frankly, I'm perplexed. I'm perplexed why Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's advisor has not brought this to her attention. Because I have spoken with this advisor several times. And they keep telling me we're working on it. Well, what's to work on? What is there to work on? We have the report. You see that other congressmen and celebrities are calling for an investigation and making it public and trying to get public awareness. What is there to work on? Frankly, there's a lot of tweeting going on with selfies and stupidity. Not just her. I'm talking about a lot of people. So Elijah Cummings, frankly, benefit of the doubt, his press secretary, who I've spoken to many times, might not know about it. Maybe the press secretary just was like, oh, this isn't a big deal, which is mind-boggling. Well, you better bring it to his attention because I am not beyond going down to the Capitol and getting in there one way or the other and camping out at your offices until you pay attention. You cannot allow Rick Snyder, you cannot allow his environmental agency to poison American citizens and then try to cover it up by cooking the data.